17 years and over 200 episodes later, we're going back to where we first began. This is the OSMcast. Hello and welcome to the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. I'm Basil.
I'm Kevin.
Sometimes I'm a podcaster. Other times I'm an unsuccessful streamer. And sometimes I'm even the greatest living interviewer. But behind all those I'm John.
I'm Doug.
And that's us. All right, we're doing it for realsies. Not with a screwed up recording at all. No siree. This is episode 200.
0.5.
Yeah, so this is 200 episodes of the OSMcast, at least OSMcast proper, as between OSMcast and Awesome Quest and Awesome Table and the Carbuncle Chronicle and Awesome Interviews and a couple of random guest spots that ended up on the main feed back in the day anyways, as well as awesome bonuses that we probably should get back into doing. What I'm saying is, technically, as of this recording, we've actually released 354 episodes. So this could be episode 355, but we're still calling it episode 200.
I think you're stretching there, Basil. Maybe stretching there a little bit.
It all depends on your point of view.
Yeah, and from my point of view, this is episode 200. But we're not just doing about anything. We're actually going back to our first original anime episode, which was about Cutie, Honey, ostensibly. It was actually our first episode about anime. It's actually our 5th episode we released. We recorded it back in, looks like May 5th, 2008. It got released. Oh, that's when it got released. So who knows when we recorded it? But man, that was back in the day when Rock Band was still a thing, because the very first part of that short episode, it was like 20, I don't know if it was even 30 minutes long. And we talked about a decent chunk of it was about us going to a Rock Band tournament.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And then we talked about Cutie, Honey. And man, so much has changed since then, not just for this podcast, but for anime in general, for, Gainax in general, because when Cutie came out, in 2004, it wasn't until 2008 when I think we started hearing about or even seeing the first rebuild of Eva movie.
Oh.
Yeah, now we have no Gainax. We do have Kara and Trigger, but we'll get into that more when we actually talk about the show. But before we do, are there any particular thoughts y'all have about, podcasting for 17 years?
I mean, that first episode was a little bit of a different setup. I wasn't part of the podcast at the time.
So the last time we attempted to record this episode, the 200th episode, you pointed out, Basil, that we were going to re-record it all better and everything, and I made some sort of pithy comment to the effect of, well, are you sure we're actually getting better? And then you were telling us that yes, we are much better now for some reason.
We have a lot more practice. There is 194 mainline episodes, as it were, flagship episodes. We've done lots of interviews. We've got different topics of all sorts and shapes and sizes. We are more experienced people. We're just, doing it better than we were. We're much more comfortable talking in front of microphones. We have better microphones. We're just, in every case, it's by and large better.
I just remember that when we were first getting started, we were all just sitting around the same microphone in my dining room.
I remember huddling around the same microphone.
We did that for a long time.
Yeah.
Right up until COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think COVID is what stopped us from doing that.
Or maybe thank you in some ways, because it is weirdly easier to do a recording if we don't have to all figure out how to get to the same place at the same time.
But at the same time, we've made less recordings since then.
True.
Well, actually, we've always been bad about that part.
It's
Even
also
when
true.
we were in the same room. There's a reason why it's taken us 17 years to episode 200. Like, even we were doing it in the same room. Like, that's just different logistical nightmares versus the current logistical.
John was doing a completely different podcast.
That's true.
Yeah, we subsumed them
Till we merged.
Yeah. I mean, technically, his podcast at least had 4 different voices on it.
Yeah.
And we've at least kept 2 of them.
Yeah.
I think we would want to keep all of them. I just don't know that all of them want to talk as much anymore.
No, not really.
Yeah.
And some of them just don't have, some of them are dads with non-working laptops. So even if they wanted to, they don't either have the time nor the capabilities of doing it right now. But
They especially couldn't drive down to all be in the same place with us, talking into the same microphone.
well, especially since the con that we really did that with doesn't exist anymore in the intervening years. So yeah.
So what we're saying is a lot of things change over 200 episodes worth of podcasting, plus or minus.
Yeah. Sadly, this time we're being real downers about it. The first time I recorded this, we were having a good old time and relating to things to like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah. Good old Final Fantasy Tactics, even though I never really loved that as much as everyone else seems to, but still. And people like Final Fantasy Tactics, am I right?
They sure do. I sure do.
Yeah. I don't think I love it quite as much as John does, but I love it pretty hardcore. I love it so much that when I heard the voice acting for the first time on this new edition, I was confused because I had just been playing it so hard and so adamantly. I had come up for voices for all the characters in my head, and I just didn't realize that those weren't the actual voices.
But again, whose fault is it then that you didn't cast Dice-Darg with Ben Starr?
I know, right? We should have cast Ben Starr for everybody. The whole
We
thing,
didn't know
Ben Starr.
We didn't know who Ben Starr was back then. I don't know.
Ben Starr will do anything for money.
I don't think Ben Starr knew who Ben Starr was when Final Fantasy Tactics came out.
No, but he probably liked
Is
it.
that really true? Will Ben Starr do anything for money?
Allegedly.
Well, no, I don't mean anything. I just mean like if I make an animation production and I have no validation or backing behind me, I just call him up and I'm like, "Hey, Ben Starr, will you do the voice acting for my thing?" Will he do it?
If you have the money.
Yeah. If you can meet his rate and he's not already committed to do something that day, weekend, whatever you're doing it, probably.
Yeah, if the check
Excellent.
clears.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This works into my plans perfectly.
Best kind of voice actor. The one who just goes, "You paid me, I'm here."
Well, that is a relief. I will just go ahead and keep casting him as things in my head. And then when those things inevitably get made into an anime, I'll demand that he gets to do the voice that I've cast him as already.
I can only hope.
Sounds great. But speaking of anime, we're talking about an entirely different anime that has no connections to Ben Starr whatsoever.
Doesn't it? I can't think of one, honestly, but, it's,
No. I mean, the anime is more contemporary with Final Fantasy Tactics when it first released than, say, now. But there is a great Blu-ray of it now. At the same time, there's a great new modern version of Final Fantasy Tactics now.
Yeah.
So they both have that going for them, and they both have great new English dubs. That is true. We're talking about the 2004 OAV, OVA. I can never get those straight. We're talking about Cutie, Honey once again in a brand new format that's the exact same format, the Awesome Recast. This is the OSMcast. So now that we've hit 200 episodes, what better way to celebrate finally getting a nice big round 00 number than to talk about things we technically already talked about, and we're going to call them awesome recasts, because there's all sorts of things we've talked about over the years that we have definitely been able to watch again, reflect on, and talk about it once more.
We're older, we're wiser, we've seen more stuff since then. One of those things might be true.
Well, and for example, at the time when we first and talked about Cutie, Honey, we didn't realize that really there are two separate stories sort of being told here. One is the actual story of Cutie, Honey, but also the story of Gynax and the dissolving of Gynax, but the rising phoenixes of things like Studio Kara and Trigger. And a lot of that phoenix egg, you can see it being born and shaped here with the creation of Cutie, Honey, which is an OVA series that they released alongside the live action movie Cutie, Honey, which both were directed by Hideaki Anno.
The live action Cutie, Honey it is a pretty good movie. Like it's not a bad film at all. It's I mean, I think I'm still in Basil's thunder a little bit from, because I've heard him say that it really is kind of the first of the Hideaki Anno Shin recreations of, his cool favorite childhood cartoons and whatnot.
No, it's true. In fact, I would also say that it's got a lot of the same vibes to it as, say, the live action Speed Racer movie does, which I really, really, really enjoy. It's not quite as well CG'd as Speed Racer. It's a bit more, tokusatsu style graphics, but
they didn't try to weigh it down so hard in the realistic that you lost all the whimsy.
No, they did not. And in fact, I rewatched some of the Cutie, Honey live action movie before we recorded today, and I was like, oh, right, they really did sort of work to make this as much of a live action, but also animate at the same time. And there's a decent chunk of the animation from Cutie, Honey in the Cutie, Honey movie where it really kind of feels like they were already going to animate these bits to begin with. And at some point, Anno was like, why don't we just make a Cutie, Honey show to go along with the movie? We're already animating chunks anyways. We've got the studio. Let's do this.
And, the Cutie, Honey is in many ways just like an expanded version of the movie's plot.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It absolutely is. So, Kevin, before we get into the whole studio parts of this, please do tell us, what is Cutie, Honey?
What is Cutie, Honey? Well, it's a manga created by Go Nagai, master of pushing the envelope of what is socially acceptable in manga at whatever time he's doing his work. And it's the story of a girl named Honey Kisaragi, who's actually an android created by her father, Dr. Kisaragi, in the image of his dead daughter, who also has a cool little gadget built into her that's called a couple different things, different adaptations, but it allows her to basically materialize anything out of basically transforming the elements in the air to whatever. She mostly uses it to change her outfit, which also usually involves disintegrating the outfit she's currently wearing for a little bit of charmingly tame fan service in many of the early incarnations. And she fights the evil organization Panther Claw, led by Sister Jill, and occasionally another being known as Panther Zora in the background, who are the big bads, who up to no good. Usually honestly, they're the most fluid, as often their goals will change from adaptation to adaptation, and exactly who's the boss, is anyone higher up the ranks than Sister Jill, or what's going on, but it's very, honestly, it's almost the same origin story as Kamen Rider, and, she fights bad guys, and it's awesome, and she'll do cool disguises, and usually at the opportune moment, she'll reveal herself as really being someone who was pretty obviously her all the time, but, the bad guys are dumb. it's a good time. It's a good time. There's been several incarnations. The tone has ranged from boys' adventure story to, cute shoujo adventure, magical girl antics, and it just all kinds of levels of fan service and like the the factor of how much you get to see versus how much they tease you varies tremendously, but it's good wholesome. It's good wholesome family fun. I don't care what anyone says. If you've got at least tween children, good family fun.
Watch it with your parents.
Watch it with your parents. They might like it.
I think no. Okay, so I have nieces and nephews, children in my life, and I would be perfectly comfortable with them watching Cutie Honey because I do like how they treat nudity in Cutie Honey, but I think it is very important that there is nudity in Cutie Honey. Like when she transforms, she drops all her clothes and they draw the nipples in and everything.
Yeah. That's not true of every installment of Cutie Honey, but in Cutie Honey, that is definitely very true.
It's like transformations from Sailor Moon, but instead of it being like a magical gradient overlay over their bodies, you see her whole body as she transforms. And so that makes it one of those anime that you're watching, and the anime is a totally normal anime for like 90% of the runtime. But then there's 5 minutes that's a little bit scandalous, and that is invariably when somebody is going to walk in and see what you're watching and question you.
And then I go, Mom, I've seen Overfiend. I've seen Overfiend. What are we talking about here? It's just a little bit of boobs.
That's right, Kevin. Don't watch Cutie Honey with your parents. Watch Overfiend,
which Discotheque has a lovely Blu-ray release of. Yeah. I can't really recommend it only because it's like if you want it, you want it, and you probably already got it. But it's like the best version of that you're ever going to get.
Well, Discotheque is very good. Them, Media OCD, now Animigo, they just do a really good job of releasing the best version of an anime you're going to buy. And Cutie Honey is no exception to this. It looks great. It sounds great. They went the full distance and put a brand new English dub to it. That is, from what I hear, great. John can confirm.
Yes.
Yeah, I've watched it subbed and dubbed, and yeah, the dub is really good. They've got a lot of the actors have been involved in other Cutie Honey projects. Like Jessica Cavello has somehow managed to play Honey like probably more times than anyone, including Japanese actors.
Yeah, in every English dub they've done, she's been Honey. I think the only thing that they haven't dubbed, to my knowledge, aside from various like live action and side projects and stuff, is the original series. They didn't do a dub for.
Yeah, but,
which makes sense. It's a 1970s show that has a bazillion episodes.
Yeah, if I had Elon Musk money, I'd dub everything. I would just dub everything.
I had Elon Musk money, I would buy, is it Madhouse? Basil, who is it that I would buy?
That's a studio you could buy.
I would buy the anime studio that made Yuri Ice and force them to make more Yuri on Ice.
A perpetual sweatshop of Yuri on Ice making.
That's all it would be. No other shows.
Yeah.
Admittedly, my response was going to be, if we had Elon Musk money, we'd go crazy and be doing terrible things, because that's what that amount of money does to you.
That's what happens, yeah. The studio is MAPPA, by the way, and yeah.
MAPPA, that's it.
They should be forced to make, at the very least, that Yuri on Ice movie.
The one that they promised us that they then came back and said, no, we didn't make enough money.
Yeah, they should at least be forced to do that. But, I don't want anybody... Well, it's their own fault for doing so many things in a season, but I don't want anybody on their, any of their animators dropping dead in the process. That's all I'm saying.
That's already happened, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wouldn't run it the way they're currently running, and I would run it so much better. And I would only make Yuri on Ice, and then I would...
So anyways, Discotheque also got Cutie Honey superfan at Salvatore, who also does the lovely comic No More Mermaids, to do all the liner notes and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's crossed in Cutie Honey. Everything, sounds like it should sound as far as text goes. So it is the full package. It's only 3 episodes. It's 1 Blu-ray. It's very economically priced. It's a great watch, and you should totally watch it.
Yeah, it's only, about 45 minutes an episode. It's good stuff. And you get
you can knock it out in one sitting, no problem.
Yeah. It's like, you've watched movies longer than that. I'm sure you have. Whoever's listening to this, but it's fun, and you got, we're not on spoilers. I know I've, said this before, but, I love that it's, like the first episode, it could almost be an episode of Panty and Stocking. And the last episode has so many little Ava-esque elements to it. And the middle episode brilliantly threads the transition from those two.
Right, that's what I was going to talk about before we got into the spoiler section. The thing that I noticed watching it back this time, now that it's been however many years it's been, is that you can really see the DNA for where anime was at the time to where anime has gone. Like, you can see the people who would go on to become Trigger really, like, applying that skill where they don't do a lot of animation. Instead, they have really dynamic, really clear-looking stills where they then just animate the mouth and pan and sort of kind of puppeteer the figure. And Cutie Honey is one of the first shows where they really applied that technique, and it's really well done.
Try to give something that's engaging while you're kind of holding your cash reserve till you need it for the big moment.
Yeah, so when they do the like full animation, the Sakuga is really good. It's sort of like, well, every animation throughout the history of animation has always tried to really strategically place where they spend their budget and where they put the emphasis on their animation. But you can see this studio that would go on to do things like Panty and Stocking and Kill la Kill. That's a really hardcore part of the style where they were perfecting that here.
I couldn't help but think that, like, Ikuhara has never met a bit of stock footage he didn't love to use over and over. But,
well, that's the truth.
It kind of made me think that if you care about the history of animation, that this is probably a piece that you should go look at just to see the evolution of that style.
I do sort of get what you mean.
Well, a lot of this is really because while the chief director of this whole thing is Hideaki Anno, and his fingerprints are all throughout it, he also let the 3 different directors he had for each episode also really put their own stamp on it. So, for example, like we're really talking about episode 1, well, that was directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, who would go on to direct Gurren Lagann and Penny and Stocking with Garter Belt and Kill la Kill and form Studio Trigger.
That's your Studio Trigger branch of the show, and that's, it's its own fun.
Yeah. Episode 2 was Naoyuki Ito, and while they haven't really gone on to be as much of a name brand as Imaishi, but they did a really good run of Pretty Cure. I believe they're now stuck in the Overlord mines, but hey, the fact that they've been doing an anime for a bazillion years at this point, and it keeps getting seasons, and they keep getting employed, means they're doing good work.
And he directed No Guns Life, which wasn't bad, and Digimon Data Squad. He's a real solid director. I'm just going to be like, he's a real solid director. He's maybe not the most outstanding, most visionary director you're going to ever have working on a project. And in a lot of ways, his job really was to bridge 2 kind of very different directors and make it all seem like a whole seamless narrative.
And then episode 3 was directed by Masayuki, who in a lot of ways is one of Hideaki Anno's like right-hand men, who went on to work on all the Rebuild movies, and hell, found out that he cut together Hideaki Anno's and his wife's wedding video that I think had like 1,000 cuts to it. You know, he's a guy who's very much as much of the DNA of Evangelion as much as Anno is at this point.
And he was one of the key animators in Cream Lemon Episode 4 Pop Chaser, the secret most important anime of the 80s.
So, yeah, like you can really see the beginnings of what would eventually turn into things like Studio Trigger, as well as Kara coming out of this OVA. You absolutely can. And when we first watched it many, many years ago, we were like, this is really cool. Hell yeah. Kick their butts,
Yeah.
honey.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a thing.
And that's still true.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But now we get to be all navel gazing, be like, oh man, I can totally see, like, I can now draw the line from this thing to the other thing. And this makes total sense. Oh my gosh, I was watching this and now I'm doing this and it's still great. I still want Honey to kick butt. Go Honey.
Yeah. But now you know more about the people who are actually working on it, and you can see their fingerprints all over it. And you can see, oh yeah, I get it now, because you'd see them get they'd have a bigger, more in control directorial job in other shows we've liked, and they'd be like, oh, I get it. This is what you're on about. And also, the lovely, the writer, Kazuki Nakashima, who also worked on things like Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Brand New Animal, Back Arrow, and my personal favorite, Kamen Rider Forze, out of his works. Certainly no stranger to writing a weird, eccentric story full of weird, eccentric people.
Yeah. No, this OAV series, OAV, OVA, but I can never get those. It's the same term. I just can never get them straight.
I don't think Japan has ever been able to settle on one or the other, but
well, now you also have ONAs because you need something for Netflix and Amazon and whatnot.
Yeah, I probably just show my oldness by probably being likely to refer to those as OVAs also, despite myself.
But something I totally forgot to mention last time we tried to record this, as we're talking about creators, the music by Susumu Ueda is really, really, really good. It really has this really 70s infused poppy that I believe is probably inspired by the original music of Cutie Honey, but in a great, just modern interpretation that just keeps everything just humming along so well.
Yeah, it's kind of a long time Cutie Honey standard that a lot of the soundtrack is just going to be a variation on the Honey theme.
It's really interesting to see something that is so heavily products of two time periods. Like, it is both very 1970s while also being very mid 2000s.
And possibly the most mid 2000s-ness of it is the fact that the opening was done by Kodakumi.
Yeah.
And it's a real good version of the Cutie Honey theme. It's really good. It might be my favorite one.
It's a banger.
I also loved that not only did she get to the opening as far as the anime goes, but she also got to be in the movie, the live action movie, where she gets to sing the introduction of Sister Jill. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that was certainly a popular music choice of the time. I'm like, is she still doing things? I think she might be.
Oh yeah, she's still very active.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Cutie Honey, it's a great little show. I love this version of Honey. I love this version of Natsuko.
Yeah.
Best Natsuko yet. Ever.
Best version of Natsuko, hands down.
Yes, definitely a departure from her usual characterization. But I like that she took, even if she's kind of a very different character, I like that she was a more active participant in the, adventure.
I'm going to save all of my thoughts for spoilers.
Yeah.
I will just say that Natsuko is great, and I really like this version of Natsuko.
I also like this version of Seiji. I think it's also the best take on Seiji we've gotten. I like the fact that he has an actual job. He has an actual purpose. He's not just dumb her male look at honey guy. We need a male-esque lead. Here he is.
Well, there has to be a guy who can be useless. So we know men are useless in the Cutie Honey universe.
But in this one, he at least gets to look cool doing it.
And he's not entirely useless, if I'll be completely honest. But he's not the heroic action lead. He's the comedy support who occasionally does cool things.
He is one step above a tuxedo mask.
Yes, because he at least does something.
Yeah. And I would even argue this might be the most interesting portrayal of Sister Jill. But I think that's, again, something that is more spoiler territory than not.
I think that's a little... Well, I would argue her only real competition would probably be the Cutie Honey universe version of Jill.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
Which probably was able to be that because that Cutie Honey exists. And I'll also state I like all the various claws in Panther Claw. They're a great collection of adversaries for Honey to face over the course of 3 episodes.
Yeah, which is kind of weird as, given that there was really only 3 episodes to enjoy them, that, yes, I thought the various minions were relatively well characterized, all things considered.
Oh yeah. Like, I really liked how, even though this thing is only 3 episodes long, it manages to pack in, I guess these would be like the lieutenant. Like, we kind of skip, like, it's very good about giving the impression that this is a Monster of the Week show without actually going through the humdrum of Monster of the Week. And so we kind of get to the more fascinating part of dealing with the lieutenants. And I really liked how they paced it all out. And I thought it was really interesting when me and Basil were reading the line notes after we watched the whole thing, where it turns out that they had a different designer design each of the different claw ladies, and they were all harkening back to original designs by the guy who made Cutie Honey, but they were kind of doing their own take on them, and then those got and in turn translated into the actual animation ready designs, and you can see how all 4 of the different Panther claws are designed kind of different from each other. And I think that really helps them stand out.
Yep. It was, it's really good. Yeah, they got different people be like, all right, well, I like this thing that Go Nagai did. Let's do this as an inspiration. Well, I like this thing that Go Nagai did. Let's use that as inspiration. It was very, very good. But okay, we keep talking around how let's talk about all the spoilers. So we're going to take a break and we're going to get into spoilers. Free Cutie Honey. We'll be right back.
Yay!
All right, folks, we're back. We're talking about Cutie Honey. Gynax, R.I.P., you did it. And then you did some other things, and now you don't do things no more, but you did this thing, and it was a damn good one. And also, again, Kara and Trigger are still doing damn good things, so, hey, we're still eating good as far as cool animation goes.
Yep.
But we're talking about Cutie Honey. Spoilers, let's go. Let's hear them, folks.
Okay, so spoilers, and every other Cutie Honey not to go probably dies. Except for this one.
Yeah, this is the one where she lives.
Yeah, I think in the live-action TV series, she makes it through okay, unless I'm forgetting something. It's been a little while. But,
In every other Cutie Honey, she's simping for Honey so bad. And yet this is the one where she is not simping for Honey, and she gets the girl.
So, Cutie Honey's kind of gay. Spoilers.
Okay, well that is the thing I wanted to talk about, and Kevin just launched right into it. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I would point out, Kevin, at the very least, she's probably pan, if not bi. Like, Honey loves everyone.
Don't erase Honey's bisexuality.
Probably does. But to quote Natsuko from the original manga, when Honey asks, "Why are all the girls after me?" In the original manga, the original Natsuko goes, "Because all the girls in the school are lesbians."
Get a reason as any.
Yeah.
That's why I do things.
I love going to guy just casually back in the 70s, just being like, fuck it, the girls' school's all lesbian. Why not? It'll be funnier that way.
So, one of the things I was thinking about as I watched it was I remember when we were watching it in the mid-2000s, we were just like, yay, lesbians! And we were just so happy that the girls were just straight out lesbians, that it seemed like Gainax was like, we could have subtext in our show about lesbians, or subtext is for losers. We'll just have it in the main text.
To be fair, they subtext pretty hard in other shows of theirs, but
But at the same time, I was watching it and I realized that the historians could in fact still characterize them as roommates.
No, they're neighbors.
They're neighbors, but they're basically roommates. And that is more the heart of what I think I tried to say the last time that we tried to record, but I hadn't really thought about it hard enough to articulate it. And that is, there's two things going on that I kind of want to call out about this version of Cutie Honey. On the one hand, this version of Cutie Honey is incredibly forward with the homosexual romance. It's kind of frustrating that homosexual romances get put up to this more difficult, inscrutable standard that, like, unless they're standing there with, holding hands, holding up marriage certificates that say we are lesbians together, there are people who will try to erase it and minimize it and say, oh no, they're just really good friends. That is something that is happening a lot lately, and I don't like it. But at the same time, the gay community also has to deal with shows that get that queer bait, that want to have the divisiveness of saying we feature a gay couple without actually committing and taking the risk of featuring a gay couple. And so they write themselves out. And Cutie Honey kind of does that. But part of that, the reason that it does that is because it's from the mid-2000s. And in the mid-2000s, we were just so starved for representation that this seemed like it was really super progressive and really just blatant about these two girls are lesbians. I mean, they get naked and cuddle together, but that's just for body heat.
For plot reasons.
They kiss so that Natsuko can give Cutie Honey a magic potion to make her nanomachines work better.
Yeah, and also the tendency is Japan likes to understate their romances sometimes too, is kind of...
Yes. And so all these things, like, I am forever scarred by things where people tell me that, like, oh yeah, this show's really good and you'll really like it. The characters are totally gay in it. And so I go in thinking I'm going to see a canon gay romance, and then that's not actually a canon gay romance. It's just a bromance with a lot of subtext. So that is why I kind of want to put this warning on Cutie Honey, that I get the frustration with how gay couples have to kind of prove themselves more on screen than straight couples do.
And sadly, even to this day, even with Gundam Witch from Mercury, where you literally see both girls with their wedding rings in the final episode, people argue about whether it's, lesbian.
Well, people argue about Yuri on Ice. Like, that seems incredible to me, that people would try to argue that Yuri and Victor aren't in a relationship when, like, they got gay married. Like, what do you want?
I have literally seen an anime with a character tear off their top and reveal their trans flag bra and still be questioning, what did they mean by that? Because sometimes people are dense and have bad media literacy, or just want to push any other possibility rather than it's gay because that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's a lot of bad actors.
Yeah.
As far as just trying to...
And also, like, once again, with that Witch from Mercury example, that, like, that Bandai themselves didn't want to commit to the words "they are gay married," caused a little bit of controversy. Because they're trying to play lowest common denominator, too, to not hurt their own wallet.
They gotta sell that Gunpla shit to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but didn't they also sell Gunpla of the Rings?
They might have. I know they sold Gunpla of the characters, which I swear is almost unheard of for Gundam series. Like, people wanted model kits of the actual characters in the show, which was weird in my opinion. But they made them. They can hold hands.
But for as long as Go Nagai has been doing stuff, it has always been transgressive stuff. Like, he is no compulsions about pushing limits.
Yeah, dude was like public enemy #1 of the Japanese PTA for years because he just wanted to like flash some panties in a gag comic. Admittedly, maybe there were some kids who started emulating that, and that wasn't that great, but that's their own fault in many ways, in my personal opinion. But he pushed the boundaries. He always pushes the boundaries, and you can argue whether the representation is good or not, but he's also has a lot of queer characters in his stories. They're there, they're front and center, and it's
I also think the question of whether Cutie Honey is meant for girls or not is a fascinating topic.
Yeah, because it wasn't meant to be
No.
originally.
Yeah.
But they discovered, this is who's popular with.
Yeah, Go Nagai wrote it as kind of a Kevin, what is this genre called?
Oh, like are we like thinking like kind of tokusatsu?
Yeah,
style,
that's what the word I'm looking for.
Kamen Rider-esque almost,
Yeah, Kamen Rider tokusatsu style hero, only it's a girl and we take off her clothes all the time. Isn't that fun? Aren't, hormonal teenage boys going to really love this? And then it turned out that hormonal teenage girls are who actually really loved it. And so he just kind of
empowered. Yeah, you got an empowered, badass woman who has lots of different cool outfits and is pretty sexy. Girls can latch onto that concept too, as it turns out.
Yeah, like this version of Honey is pretty ditzy, but every version, but even this really ditzy version of Honey is a self-actualized woman.
And also in Cutie Honey, she's kind of an adult with a job, which is a step up, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still a robot who is probably only chronologically a year or so old, but at least she's got the brain of an adult.
Exactly. Yeah, so Cutie Honey was really appealing to a lot of girls. I saw Cutie Honey Flash first, was my first Cutie Honey, and I liked it. That was the same time that I was in my Sailor Moon and Utena era.
Which tracks because Cutie Honey Flash was a lot of the same folks who worked on Sailor Moon that didn't go on to work on Utena.
Yeah. And I think there is a little overlap there somewhere too, but that's it's fun. It's the most shoujo-fied Honey. In some ways it's the least queer version of Honey, but it's also it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It still stands as like the only one we haven't really gotten in the US. Well, not the only one, but the only major Honey project that hasn't come out in the US.
And Honey is like pizza. There ain't no bad Cutie Honey.
No. Oh, and she's proven you can tell Honey stories in a lot of different ways. 70s TV series was a bit more sanitized from the manga, much like the Devilman TV series around the same time. But it was fun. It's real fun. Like, I stand by that one. I think Discotheque put that on Blu-ray not too long ago, but I have it on DVD myself. But
while there is no bad Honey, I do feel that Cutie Honey is up there for being potentially the best Honey, just overall.
I think that gets handled in the questions, doesn't it, Basil?
It does, but was there anything else people want to talk about before we get into questions?
I think this is probably the most accessible version of Cutie Honey.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, a little over 2 hours. You can knock it out in one sitting. It stands on its own. You don't have to have the deep lore to understand what's happening.
Gives you all the lore you need along the way.
That's part of why it's so great.
Yeah.
You don't need the deep lore to watch this show, but if you have the deep lore, there's just like little Easter eggs everywhere, little background characters that, if you didn't know about it, it wouldn't be anything. But if you do know about it, oh, it's a little happy thing.
Lots of little Go-Nagai character cameos in the background.
Yeah, like Cutie Honey has never had the deepest of lore. Like there is lore to be had, but because every iteration is very much its own thing, not a lot of it always crosses over. I mean, shoot, I think the original version of Honey, they didn't do the whole Astro Boy thing where she's just an android made by Dr. Kisaragi. There was no daughter that was the inspiration for it. That became introduced later on. But it's in here in this version. And I think a lot of the quote-unquote deep lore that you get are, in fact, shout-outs to other Go-Nagai things, which is still pretty darn neat and does a really great job of filling out this world of Cutie Honey with a lot of varied characters because they can just keep pulling from various Go-Nagai things, and they just did a real good job of it.
Like, I think one of my favorites is like the protagonist of Shootin' Doji of all things showing up in the background, or one of the girls from Keiko Kamen being like the news reporter is kind of funny for just, that's kind of obscure,
And even things that aren't so obscure, like, for example, Black Claw, who is my favorite of the four generals because they're both Baron Ashura and Count Brocken from Mazinger. Why did you do that? You didn't have to, but I appreciate that you did.
It's very clear that it's a project that was made with a lot of love for the source material, and that really shines through in how it's made.
There have been other good Go-Nagai things since Cutie Honey, but for me, nothing hit the same level to me that Cutie Honey did until Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah.
Which I think is the similar level of quality that Science Saru and Yuasa brought to Devilman, that Anno and company brought to Cutie Honey.
I mean, I've got a little soft spot for Cyborg 009 versus Devilman, but I don't think it's quite on the same level of either Cutie Honey or Devilman Crybaby. But I did enjoy that.
I did think it's funny that John pointed out that this is the most accessible Cutie Honey, because for a long time, it was completely inaccessible.
That is true.
Like, when we first started doing this podcast, we were contributing to this particular Cutie Honey has kind of a reputation of being really hard to get a hold of because there wasn't an English release for a long, long time. We kind of back in the day got it through Ways and Means, and it was before we realized that we probably need to not review things that people can't actually get a hold of. But, it's sort of developed this little like niche where people who are really into anime and who have watched a lot of it inevitably end up saying, oh yeah, and Cutie Honey is great, but your average person watching anime didn't have access to it.
Yeah, kids, ask your parents about fan subs. You might need to.
You might need to, the way things are going.
Because you might need to.
This is, the era of digital fan subs, and we were a few years off from Crunchyroll being a thing and getting almost all the anime. You did not get almost all the anime every season like you do these days. You may have to jump a few different services to see all the anime, but it is almost all out there these days, with very few shows getting skipped.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say?
Fucking good, man.
All right, we're getting to questions from listeners like you, and then our final thoughts and awesomes out of awesomes. We'll be right back. Questions from listeners like you, talking about Cutie Honey. Our first one comes from Chad on Blue Sky at chadbonin.com. He asks, best iteration of Honey?
Yes. Yes.
This is where...
Emphatically.
And this could just be a case of, well, maybe because of the first version of Honey I saw, but the new Cutie Honey series that got released, by like AD Vision, and I first saw it on VHS tape. That's how far back in time we're going. But I like that version of Honey, who is that show was meant to be a sequel to the original TV series, but that version of Honey and New Cutie Honey is kind of an older and wiser. She's a little less ditzy in the way she acts in general, and I kind of always in my heart want Honey to be a little more like that than she usually is in other versions, but once again, there's not really a bad Cutie Honey. Cutie Honey is really good, but I do like the new Cutie Honey version so much.
John?
Yeah, it's probably either this or Universe for me. I think Universe does a good job of kind of being like the original series, but also doing its own thing. It's also very accessible. It's only 13 episodes. You can get it from Sentai. But yeah, it's probably either this or Universe as far as the best iteration for me. I'm taking that question and saying like iteration as a series, not necessarily just of Honey herself.
Yeah, for me, I think I take it as a holistic Honey, as it were. Just one of the many forms that Honey can take. Holistic Honey, I think Cutie Honey stands above and beyond. Like, this is the best. If you had to pick one version of Cutie Honey to watch Cutie Honey. For one thing, it actually tells a complete story from beginning to end. That's something we haven't really talked about too much, is that most versions of Honey don't.
Nope.
The original kind of doesn't do it. New Cutie Honey doesn't do it. Even there was a manga called Cutie Honey A Go-Go that ran alongside Cutie Honey and Cutie Honey, the 2004 live action movie. They were kind of a triumvirate of multimedia Cutie Honey properties that were being all released around the movie. It also was supposed to be 2 volumes that only got 1 volume made. So much of Cutie Honey does not actually get to be finished. Cutie Honey, however, does. It tells a complete story, beginning, middle, and end, and does a great job of it. I like the animation of Cutie Honey. I totally get, Kevin, what you're saying about having an older, wiser Honey, but I think Cutie Honey's Honey is still awesome and amazing, and I think you could totally see how this Honey could eventually grow into being New Cutie Honey. But again, if you had to pick one Cutie Honey, one show to watch, this would be the singular one to watch.
I was going to say, but you might find yourself wanting to watch more. You may want to find yourself trying to look up those other series afterwards, and you would be right to do so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, New Cutie Honey and Cutie Honey Universe are very easily attainable dubs on Blu-ray, so...
There's also Cutie Honey Live, and I think they've even just very recently done one via, YouTube Shorts or something, where it's that weird, bad vertical-oriented stuff, but they made a whole new version of Honey that just came out earlier this year. I think it just wrapped up that I've got to figure out how in the world I'm going to even watch, and I don't know yet. But no. Start with this one, then there is a whole world of Honey for you to enjoy. Nicholas Qualls at nicholasqualls.com on Blue Sky asks, if the 2020s Anno did this instead of the 2000s Anno, what would be different? And my answer is still the same as it ever was. Actually, it would be this Honey. It would be the movie that they made. It would be Cutie Honey. The Anno of the early 2000s is just the earliest iteration of the Anno we have today.
Yeah.
That would be a different show.
Bring 1997 Anno into this, and then we'll talk. At the height of his fuck you powers. But I would say definitively the only thing that would change is that this would be in that annoying ultra-wide format. I don't know why we have ultra-wide, guys. It's so, a couple of, tens of thousands of people that go see it in the theater can see it, but then everybody else who watches it at home has to watch it with fucking bars. We didn't change all of our TVs to fit widescreen TV. I know a lot of you kids probably don't know this, but we used to have that 4:3 format. We used to have letterboxing on all of our movies, or they got stretched to fit 4:3. We changed all our TVs to fix that, and then some asshole decided, let's do ultra wide. Let's bring letterboxing back.
Wasn't it that guy who did Titanic?
Yeah.
James Cameron, I don't know, but I believe it. I believe it'd be one of these auteur fuckers like this. It's like, no, wider. I need wider film.
Kids, ask your parents about 4:3 format, then have your parents ask their parents about vacuum tube.
But also, yes, Kevin, if the 2020s Anno did this 2000 Anno, the biggest change would be that it'd be called Shin Cutie Honey.
Yeah, it's got to fit into the Anno cinematic universe.
But otherwise, this totally fits right in. I guess like the graphic effects would probably be a little bit nicer with the money that he gets to be able to sling around now than before. But again, I think what we got is what we would have gotten. I remember watching the last episode of Cutie Honey when it really gets into its Ava-ness, as it were, where there's mechanical stuff going on all over the place. There are screens with text on them everywhere. Everyone's getting, subtitles about and titles of what they're doing and who they are. Even the butler.
I love the gratuitous subtitling of who people are and what position they hold. I don't know why. I always love that, especially if they're characters you don't even really need to know who they are. They can just be authoritative man shouting in a room, and that's all you need to know.
And the end of Cutie Honey it could make the choice whether it wanted to be the 1990s Anno versus the Anno of today. Like, there is a chance, like Honey and Sister Jill have commingled, they're sharing the brain waves. It could go good or bad. And at the end of the day, Anno decided to end things on a positive note, and everything turned out a-okay. But I also do wonder if it is the Anno influence that, Sister Jill is not just some nefarious evil entity. It is actually a literal sister to Honey, which I believe is also somewhat of more of a thing that it was introduced here, where the eye system that powers Honey in this iteration, it allows her to be pretty much control over creation. Like, she can manipulate stuff with nanomachines and energy, like on a quark level, and reconstitute however need be. And so can Sister Jill. Just the big difference between the two, you find at the very end, is that Sister Jill has no humanity to her, whereas Honey, because she was based off of the Doctor's lost daughter, her basis is the cells of original Honey. So she is as much human as she is not. And it's that humanity that allows her to really use the eye system to its fullest, because it needed love. It needed imagination that Sister Jill just did not have, and is desiring, and was truly what Sister Jill is looking for.
Again, looking back at this series, I realized that I'm not sure that I agreed with the final moral that they were saying. Like, I think I may just be thinking about it too hard. I think nobody working on this thought about it too as hard as I did. But, Sister Jill, in the end, what she rejects is she doesn't want to be this whole question of, like, is it better to mingle with other people and lose your own self-identity, or hold on to your self-identity? And what Sister Jill rejects is losing herself. And that is why she is the villain. But I'm not sure that that's really a good reason to be a villain.
Like, I've either got kind of two feelings of either, like, she was all about that till the actual moment where she realized she was going to cease to exist as an individual, then realized she wanted to be an individual. Or alternately, that it seemed like a great idea when she was going to be the one on top when everybody merged, but as soon as she realized she wasn't, that became terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing, the reason why Jill works as a villain is because, again, she does not have humanity. She is, in a sense, just, I don't want to say just a computer, but yeah, like she has no, she doesn't have that spark of life to her that Honey does, and she's searching for it. A lot of things that the claws would say to her is that we're looking for, we're acting on our desires. We are here to give you whatever it is that you desire, Sister Jill, our glorious leader. And Sister Jill just keeps going, that sounds boring. That sounds boring. Oh, this Honey, now that's interesting. I wonder why. And you find at the very end, it's because of that humanity. And so when Sister Jill brought Honey into her, as it were, that was fine because Honey was providing that spark of life that Sister Jill did not have. But when Honey then turned the tables and now Sister Jill was on the other end and she was going to be absorbed, she realized that she did not want to lose her sense of self. So I do think they did think hard of it. It's just that unless you attempt to get on Anno's level, we'll never be on Anno's level. Let's be honest here. Anno plays 20D chess, not even 4D chess. He's like, he is out there. But it made total sense to me once everything was said and done.
But, 97 Anno, this would have ended up with Sister Jill and Shinji on a beach, both feeling so fucked up.
We talk about, in our previous episodes about Eva, we talked about Anno's influences from Yamato, from Ultraman, from other tokusatsus, and how he really brought it forward, to his animation with Evangelion. Go Nagai stuff is also very much there.
Yeah.
Like, end of Eva really reminds me of the end of Devilman.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's deliberate.
Yes.
Like,
Just like if you watch Ultra 7,
Yeah.
you will understand a lot more about Eva. Cheaper than a theology degree.
which makes Anno a great steward for this particular project. Like him tackling it and also giving us something that could have went back into the Devilman minds, but actually still comes out Cutie Honey. But now I must ask y'all for your final thoughts and awesomes out of awesomes for Cutie Honey. Kevin?
One awesome lesbian couple out of awesome who fight crime.
John?
It's an easy recommend. Like I said, watch it with your parents, your grandparents, your rabbi, your teacher, your sister. I think I'm doing the Lou Albano thing now. But yeah, absolutely check it out. Buy it. Support Discotheque's release for it because they did a great job. 10 titty flashes of awesome out of awesome.
Doug?
Originally I was going to give it 3 episodes of awesome, but I think I've decided to give it 17 years of awesome.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, this show's great. It is one of my all-time favorite anime works, period. I think there is a reason that Cutie Honey was the very first anime work we decided to talk about on the podcast, and why, again, 200 episodes later, we're talking about it again. It is really something just extremely special. You should all watch it. Not only should you watch it with your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your rabbi, your priest, your preacher, you should also buy them copies on Blu-ray. A copy of Cutie Honey in every home. That's my platform. That's right. I'm now running for president of anime, and my platform is a copy of Cutie Honey in every home out of awesome.
I'd vote for you. But
well, Kevin, after 17 years and so many episodes, it's nice to know that finally I've got a vote. So thank y'all. So this has been a production of the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. Edited by me. Hi, I'm Basil. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Basil?
No one's ever actually answered me back for it. Like I'm expecting that to be like in the comments that we never get. Anyways, our opening theme was composed by our buddy James. He goes by either DJ Inabito or just nowadays Inabito. You can find his stuff at djinabito.com. I believe he still has that website. You can find us on the internet at awesomcast.com, OSMcast.com, where you can find links to all sorts of things. We have a Patreon. If you feel like you're up to doing it, we'll always take, fresh new patrons. The money does go to supporting keeping this podcast alive and in existence. And we also very much appreciate it. Or you can buy t-shirts at our TeePublic, where we've got various shirts with the OSMcast and Carbuncle Chronicle logos, which you can check out. And also, if you play Final Fantasy XIV and aren't listening to our Final Fantasy XIV podcast, the Carbuncle Chronicle, you should. It's a good time. Also, we have our awesome table where our buddy Dylan has been doing various tabletop role-playing topics that we will talk about as a roundtable that have been really fun. And John has a whole fleet of interviews that you could be listening to with our awesome interviews. More of those will be going out shortly. You can also find us on our Discord, which you can find links to on the website. You can also rate us on things like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please give us all the stars, 5 or more if possible. If it's 10, give us 10, but I think usually they're out of 5. You can also check out our various social media things at OSMcast. We also do have YouTube channels for both the OSMcast and the Carbuncle Chronicle. You can find me on social medias at It's Basil Time. Kevin, I believe you're on Blue Sky as Rebel Robo and Twitter as Twitless_Kevin. But let's be honest, no one should be using Twitter nowadays.
Nobody should be. And
y'all can find John at J5isLive on Blue Sky. But as they'll all tell you, because the only way you can talk to Doug is via our Discord. Really, that's the best way to talk to us, is our Discord. It really is. The rest of us are only barely on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
But we're much more active on our Discord. Anyways, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, John. Thank you, Doug, for talking with me, especially Doug, who's been with me the entire 17 years. The whole way, ever since episode 1.
Yay.
Kevin joined pretty soon afterwards. John later, but no less welcome. That was a very bright and wonderful day when I was able to grab him and Dylan and Charlie into the OSMcast fold. And who knows, Drew, Richard, you might be next. Anyways, until next time, for episode 201 and beyond, we're out. Although, honestly, this kind of works out in such that, for example, I was wrong. The weird bathhouse vampire bad show was technically not dead Gynax. It was the Fukushima Gynax, which was later called Gyna. That was like the weird Gynax offshoot that isn't even called Gyna anymore. It's like Ben 10 Films, because the studio is sold to like an AI animation studio.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And by the way, Kevin, they're technically they were the last group that was supposed to be doing Blue Uru and under the new Gunbuster.
Well, so
that's great.
About that.
That's just wonderful. But who knows? Maybe now that they're sold off, they're not doing those things, and I don't know if they can do things. That's a who knows.
Who knows, indeed. Oh,
but that is technically not the Gynax that died.
Yes, no, they pay worse than bankruptcy. They got sold to like an AI company.
My puppy just came in, and she's very stinky.
Oh no.